Barb just mentioned, on May 6th, about 2:36 in the morning, we were dispatched to the Wind Placer Show Bar on US 42 here in West Chester. We were dispatched to a fight in progress. About 15 people had been involved, and it was reported that someone involved in the fight had a weapon, or potentially had a weapon, and was going to come back and shoot people. When we arrived, we spoke to an employee. One of the employees of the bar directed us to a person in a yellow shirt who had been involved in the physical altercation at the bar. Officer Gabbard identified the gentleman in the yellow shirt, asked him to stop so we could talk to him about the fight that had just occurred. That suspect refused to stop, walked around the corner onto the deck of the bar that you see here. Officer Gabbard follows him around onto the deck, asks him to stop a second time, at which point, as you can see, he stops and turns. Officer Gabbard's goal at this point is to pat the suspect down to make sure he doesn't have a weapon that had been discussed in the dispatch of the original fight call. Officer Gabbard realizes he's not going to be able to take control of his left hand at this point. Officer Farris arrives, hears the audible commands by Officer Gabbard, where Officer Gabbard's telling him to put his hands behind his back, recognizes that he's refused to follow those orders, and sees the suspect bend his elbow at 90 degrees with a clenched fist. Officer Farris will report that he believes the suspect at this point, had he not arrived, would have turned and assaulted Officer Gabbard. Officer Gabbard's trying to take control of his left hand at this point, and he's struggling to do so. The suspect turns and squares up to Officer Gabbard to face him. Officer Farris, recognizing that he's refused to follow the repeated commands to produce his hands, recognizing that he had clenched a fist and is struggling and pulling away from the officer at this point, deploys chemical irritant to the suspect's face here. Suspect immediately lunges with two hands at the officer, either an attempt to take the mace with the chemical irritant or an attempt to grab the officer. You'll see Officer Farris take a large step back in order to retreat. Officer Farris immediately Officer Gabbard, seeing that Officer Farris was being lunged at, deployed chemical irritant himself. The suspect turns, walks to the back corner of the desk, of the deck, and you'll see, and it just happened, Officer Farris is pointing to the ground. Officer Farris is telling him at this point to get on the ground. Get on the ground. You'll see that his head, Officer Farris's head, looks to the ground and he points. He's refusing to continue to get on the ground, takes a fighting stance to the officers, hands in front, fists are clenched. Officer Gabbard deployed chemical irritant a second time because of what he recognizes. Suspect still refuses to get on the ground and refuses to follow the commands of the police officers. Officer Farris, who had his ASP baton out, collapsed it because at this point he thought the suspect was going to comply after chemical irritant was deployed 3 different times. So he collapses his ASP. The suspect bends down. Because he refuses to go to the ground on their commands, the officers escort him to the ground. Officer Farris reports as the suspect's being taken to the ground, his arm comes out in an attempt to grab him. Officer Farris will step back slightly and continue to take the suspect to the ground. Officer Farris moves in. His goal now is to take the suspect into custody hands-on. The suspect's legs are here. His left leg his right leg bent behind Officer Farris's leg. And almost simultaneously, as he's taken to the ground, he kicks Officer Lovell, and you'll see Officer Lovell flinch backwards, right around his left knee, as the suspect kicks and strikes the officer. Officer Farris now, who had gone in to go hands-on with the suspect, takes a step back. And at this point, the suspect, legs raised, continues to kick at the officers. Their officers report now that his hands are up in front of him, punching. As the officers are continuing to be kicked, Officer Lovell's kicked again in just a moment, here. The officers continue to strike at the arms and the legs of the suspect as he tries to kick them. We call it the weapon delivery system. The officers are aiming for the weapon delivery system, the arms and the legs. They're trying to strike what is trying to strike them. Officer Gabbard is soon the direct target of the suspect. You will see him step back to create some distance between himself and the suspect there. The suspect is continuing to kick and punch at the officers. The suspect now is turned onto his side. He continues to kick, but these two officers have stopped the baton strikes because they're now going to struggle to take him into custody. The suspect is still kicking, which is what Officer Lovell is striking at. The suspect is continuing to refuse the commands to stop resisting and to produce his hands. The suspect, who is on his side, you will see, makes an attempt to get up here, which is obviously a concern for the suspect or for the officers involved. The suspect is finally placed on his stomach, continues to kick, and now Officer Farris is trying to take control of the suspect's right hand. As the suspect went to the ground and onto his stomach, he placed his left hand underneath his chest. This is obviously another concern for the officers based on the original dispatch, that we have a gentleman refusing to produce his left hand. You will see Officer Lovell continuing to issue several strikes. He will look to his right to inspect the situation, to reassess the situation. He'll notice that the left hand is still underneath the suspect's chest. He is trying to inflict pain on the legs of the suspect in order for so that we can take control of the suspect's hand and to take this person into custody. Go ahead, Chris. At this point, Officer Gabbard is using his asp as a pry tool to try to pry the left arm of the suspect out from underneath his chest to get it onto his back, in the hopes of allowing us to handcuff the suspect and take him into custody. You see Officer Farris will reach behind his back, grab his handcuffs here. And take the suspect into custody without further incident. He was sat up shortly after this arrest, and the life squad was summoned to inspect him for his injuries.
Did he have anything in his left hand?